You ever seen a ghost? Been abducted? Heard your name whispered from the other room when you're all alone? No, you say? Me either. But if you're like me, you're still fascinated by the paranormal. It seems everyone else has had an experience, and you want to believe it all. So why doesn't it happen to us? What does it all mean? How does it work? Is any of it real? Welcome to Paranorm Girl, a show that will attempt to answer these questions by taking the paranormal completely apart in search of proof. I'm not a blind believer, nor a hardened skeptic. I'm just looking for answers and willing to accept what I find. Welcome back to the Paranorm Girl podcast. I am your host, Kristen. Today we pick up where we left off Friday with my guest, Archbishop and exorcist Plato Angelakis. Let's get right to it. Please enjoy part 2 of our conversation. I have a listener-submitted question, and I'm guessing I already know where this might, or what you might have to say about this, but I just want to ask you in the
Sure.
way that they put it down. They ask, why does it only ever seem to be folks who are or have been religious who get possessed?
Well, because people who are not religious, the devil doesn't care. They kind of already got them. Why would you waste time on someone who's already committed adultery and, embezzling money at work, or doesn't go to church, doesn't pray to the living God, doesn't care, doesn't spend quality time at home, is only worried about making money, whatever. It's okay to make money, but, he's going to go after the people who are family orientated, go to church, pray to the living God, ask for forgiveness, do good work. That's the people he wants. Why would he waste his energy on other people that who don't care, who don't even believe, maybe don't believe in God? He doesn't believe in God. Why should I bother? I've got him already. So that is basically what it's all about. So I tell people, well, why am I always being tormented? Why, I'm getting bad dreams, and I feel attachment. I said, you should be rejoicing. You should be happy. That means he hasn't got you yet. He's trying, but he hasn't got you. So keep fighting back. Save your soul. Do what you're going to do. And that's basically what it comes down to. It. That's my intake on that.
I got you. Okay. And we talked a little bit about it. I think you mentioned it early on or before we started recording, but you were talking about, having a high success rate with helping people out of possession. What do you think, what are you doing differently that is contributing to that? Because not every exorcist is going to be that successful, and each case is going to be a little different.
Yeah, like I mentioned, for me, I'm very aggressive. Right now I'm a nice guy, or whatever, But I can tell you when I kneel down, I get ready to do my exorcism. I turn into like a warrior, and I'm very aggressive. I yell, I'm bold. I cast you out. I'm mean. I'm just mean. And I don't take no for an answer. Okay, and to me, I go in with the idea in my head that, like I said, if God's 100%, you're not going to say no to God.
Mm-hmm.
Don't even think about it, because God's not like, well, Plato, you're not going in there with that kind of like that boldness. I'm only 90%. God is not 90%. God is 100% or nothing. You're either going to use it or not. So it has to be a perfect. It's like if you're an accountant, why would you go to an accountant and says, well, my success rate is I get my numbers right 80% of the time. No, an accountant has to get it right 100% of the time, because the numbers have to match at the end of the day. You've got to jive. Bank, you go to a bank, and you say, well, let's count the till. Well, we're short $100,000 today. No big deal. It's Sunday, Monday. No, that doesn't happen. The bank, every dollar has to be, so God's the same way. It's 100%. Like, you have to think from the perspective of, I'm actually calling God down and ordering God. Like the priest, you have to read sort of like books that really, like, what is a priest? My job as an exorcist is to go in and take back the free will that was given to you that you've lost.
Mm-hmm.
Get it back to you, because it's yours.
Yeah.
You've lost your free will, and now the devil's taking control. I'm going in to get your free will back, give it back to you. And then after that, it's up to you. Kind of thing. The journey is yours. Basically what I am as an exorcist. But as a priest and having the authority given of God's Christ to the apostles to me is the fact that what he's saying is, like God gave his power to Christ and Christ gave it to us. When you look at it from that sort of theological perspective, it's not a way of thinking arrogancy. It's saying is you have the hands of God at your possession. And he says, what is bound on earth is bound in heaven. In other words, those things that you've forgiven will be forgiven. In other words, God's going to abide by what you say. And equally so, I can say, I'm taking that blessing away from you. I can do that. Or I'm not going to give you that forgiveness because I don't think you're being sincere about your confession. We have that authority. So, so if you're thinking around, if I'm really explaining myself, it's like that is an extraordinary power and gift that's in my hands. Like, they say at the Mass, a priest gives birth to Christ like Mary did each and every time at Mass, just like it happened in real. And when you bless the Eucharist, that's what you're doing, right? And then when you consume the Eucharist as a sacrifice in the Mass, in the Catholic Mass, you're basically crucifying Christ again, over again, for the sins of the world and for the people in the congregation and whatnot. And that's looked upon as if it happened all over again for real. But of course, it's on the altar, right? So a priest is more powerful than even Mary, because Mary gave birth once, but the priest gives birth by consecrating the Eucharist each and every time he says Mass. And every time, and the crucifixion was powerful 2,000 years ago, but it's being done at Mass each and every time. That's the power that the priest is given based on the dogma and the scriptures. So that's the gift you're given. So knowing that I have that kind of power, I'm going to walk in and do an exorcism. That devil is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to me, I go in with that kind of mentality. Like, I can't lose. I've got God. If I lose, who's left? You know what I mean? So a lot of people go in as demonologists who are not ordained. They're demonologists. I'm a demonologist. I'm going to go there. I'm going to do a ritual. I'm going to do a spiritual thing. That's fine to a point. I think this is where Bishop Long is coming from. I think, where, okay, you do this, but you're not ordained. You're not ordained by God to do it, and the ritual, and keep in mind, there are several rituals all over the world. I do the Roman ritual, which is Catholic, but the Greek Orthodox have their own ritual. The Jewish have their own ritual. The Muslims have their own ritual. They all do possession, they do exorcisms, but they have their own rituals. I don't do the Muslim way. I don't do the Aramaic way. I don't do, the Greek Orthodox. I do it Catholically. So I use the actual Roman ritual. That's going to see the movie. There's people out there who are a demonologist. Well, okay, that's fine. And they go in there with a cross and they read their scripture. And some people actually read their same ritual that the Catholic priesthood reads, but you're not ordained. That's what I think Bishop Long is reaching out saying. There's some things you can do, but there's some things you shouldn't be dwelling in. Doesn't belong in your realm. It belongs to the clergy. So that's where he tries to separate the clergy part. And that's why I say that you go in and do your gifts, do your spiritual things, do your cards, do your crystal work, do your Reiki, do whatever you need to do. When it comes to the ritual, okay, everybody back up. You can help me with stuff, but now it's my show now.
Yeah.
And it's where because it has to be, because I'm using the power of God. And these demonologists should not be calling upon God. You shouldn't be saying, it's God who commands you. It's not I. You don't have that authority. And it's very dangerous. It's a very dangerous thing to do. But a lot of people just take it upon themselves to do it, and it's a very dangerous thing. A lot of bad things can happen. But I don't have that. I can hold Annabelle in my hands. Got bare hands, and nothing happens.
Yeah.
I'm safe.
Yeah.
Other people have to use rubber gloves and then drench their hands in holy water and holy salt, or they'd be in trouble. So why? Because my hands are anointed. My hands are anointed by God. When I was consecrated, I had holy oil put on my hands. My hands are anointed. So that doll is not gonna hurt me, because I'm representing God. Again, it's not taking it from an egotistic, patriarchal sort of approach. It's basically saying, right now I'm a man. In 5 minutes, I'm going to do an exorcism. I'm going to change my demeanor, where now I'm harnessing God's authority, his power and his words and his name, which holds power. I say, the name of Jesus is so powerful. In the name of Jesus, every knee will bend, and sure enough, it will. Every knee, demonic, everything in the universe will bend. It will kneel in the name of Jesus. That's how powerful that name is. But some people use that name, I cast you in the name of Jesus, I cast you in the name of Jesus, and not really thinking about the fact that, that's a weapon. It's a good weapon. That's a powerful weapon. You're going to use God. I have this beautiful horn. It's a Jewish rabbi gave me this beautiful ram's horn. It's a real horn, ram's horn. And, that's what they blow, in Jerusalem, and they blow the horn and whatnot. And I have one. And they say when you blow it, you're actually calling God down with his chariots. So it's like, can you imagine that like in that Jewish faith, and I've got the horn, when you blow the horn, it commands God to come down to do battle for you. So can you imagine the kind of authority that the divine has given us as human beings or as priests, to be able to say, they're calling me, I'm going down to do battle for Israel or for whoever. So if you start looking at it from that perspective, my record's clean.
Mm-hmm.
Every person I've done is clean. And I've got testimonies. I did one not long ago, and I was compelled to lay my hands on this one young fellow who apparently is blind, and his retinas were detached, and it was really bad. And I just laid my hands, put my stole over him, and I said, I'm going to heal you like God has given Jesus the healing authority. And I just took it from that approach as Jesus is going to heal you. And it was funny, the next day we got a call for an appointment that he'd come in and get his retinas reattached. And now he was only supposed to see one eye, now he sees in both eyes. And now he's reading and he's working. That wasn't me. That's God. I was just me using God's authority. So it's like, my God is like, of course, this guy's converted. He goes to church. It's like, there's such a transformation. I want you to see that kind of healing and that kind of authority. It's just the mindset. It's like, it's not me. I'm using God's power, and I'm not going to squander it. I'm not going to abuse it. I'm going to use it with reverence, but I'm going to use it. Remember, like Moses. It's all 10 Commandments, right?
Mm-hmm.
Charleston Heston, right? He goes to the court of Pharaoh. He brings the staff. He puts it down, it turns into a serpent, and he eats the other serpent, blah, 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 blah. But it didn't really accomplish anything, right? And Pharaoh had to increase the tally of breaks and whatever. And of course, Moses said, forgive me, Lord, for poor use of your power. For whatever reason, it didn't have the effect of the staff that it should have. It didn't convince Pharaoh to release the slaves. So, again, it's like, God forbid that I would poorly use God's power, to do that. So that's what I do. I go in there with that authority, saying, okay, I got God's full authority and power to use as I please. I cast you out. Leave now. And Christ did this. Christ used to just walk away and say, leave him. Boom, gone.
Mm-hmm.
Just pointing his finger, gone. Simple. None of those rituals or whatever. He's one there's just gone.
Yeah.
Just gone.
Yeah.
What he was thinking, I don't know what he was doing, he's just gone. That's how I'm successful. One of the things that I do that's a little bit different than other people. Some people say, open your windows and we'll do an exorcism and we'll cast them all out. They have to leave the house. Leave the house. Well, I don't like doing that because they leave and then they're going on the road to the next vulnerable person. I pour salt outside the house and I work my way in. So I basically, at some point, I want the whole family there, the dogs, the cats, the hamsters, I don't care. Everybody's going to be there. Every member of the family that's involved will be there. And I work my way in. Now I have actually contained the evil and everything there with the people who are affected.
Okay.
Then I start working on the people. I've got Sister Kia who goes to and does her kind of feel out where everything is. She'll tell me, okay, it's in this room, this will happen here, this whatever. And I work my way in and do one room at a time to the point where I have everything cornered and it's gone. Because then it's gone, it goes down back to where it belongs or wherever it came from. It does not leave the house. It doesn't leave with anybody. It doesn't go home with anybody. It doesn't leave the windows. Everybody is taken care of. I work on each and every member of the family. Now, mind you, this is a long process. I don't go in and do a half-hour job. This is a whole day event.
Yeah.
At least, if not more. And then we do Reiki after that because that's what Sister Kia does Reiki, because it says there, in the scripture, it says, the devil will leave somebody, and if it finds that its home is still vacant, meaning the person that exercise, if you don't fill the empty space with something else, it will return with some of the worst demons than it left. This happened to me once. There's one person decided it didn't, I want it back. I want my demon back.
Wow.
She actually wanted it back because it came back worse than ever. And I said, well, now I can't help you. I'm not helping you anymore because, you wanted help. Now she felt empty. She's like Stockholm syndrome. She had this demon for a long time. Now all of a sudden she wants it back. But so this is what Kia does. Is so after everybody's done, she'll work on the individual. She'll even down, do Reiki, realign their body, their energy, and fill the empty space with good things, so that the demon cannot. When the demon comes back and finds that its space is no longer vacant, it's gone. So if I just come in and do an exorcism and leave, and the family doesn't go to church, read the Bible, and do this, whatever, don't change their errant ways, the demons will come back. It'll be worse than ever. So we want to make sure we're thorough, that we go in, and after I'm done, Reiki, she does a Reiki, and the people feel wonderful. They fall asleep, and it's mellow, and they feel more fulfilled. I tell them, okay, now you go to church, you do this, start reading scripture with family, start carrying blessed objects, put holy oil on the house. And of course, here are prayers. I want you to continue reading going forward. Anytime you have a downtime, a bad day, read this, and things get rejuvenated. It's a journey, right? Yeah, until Christ returns to the new evil of the planet, it's a journey. It's not like me coming in like Harry Potter and waving my wand, say bibbidi bobbidi boo, it's gone, goodbye, see you later. No, it's me getting things started, giving you back your free will, and then teaching you and educating you to take that journey forward. And the journey is theirs. It's not mine. It's theirs to move forward, and it's up to them to fight for their salvation and their soul going forward from there. So that's my approach.
Okay, yeah, that's quite a bit different than your regular, regular schmegular exorcism.
Works.
Yeah. Well, before we wrap today, because we're getting up there, we'll have to at some point, unfortunately. I wanted to ask you about these books that you are currently in the process of writing. What are those about?
Well, I'm trying to get two of them done. One of them is basically just some of the things that we talked about. Some of the little different, the different approach of cleansing and exorcism, sort of like some of the rituals, and then of course it's going to really focus on harnessing all the gifts that people have out there. Like I had spoke to you earlier about that. The mainstream churches, and that's not just Catholic, but Greek Orthodox, Anglican, you name it, Pentecostal, they put all this paranormal stuff, the crystal work, the Reiki, all that, and the tarot cards, and the sensitives, and the rescue mediums, and they put it under one umbrella. They just call it evil. I say, don't do it. Where not necessarily it doesn't have to be. It can be evil, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it is evil. But there are a lot of people out there that have wonderful gifts given by God, by the Creator, and I try to encourage them to harness that. So it's not just helping the client, but it's also helping those people who have received some gifts, to encourage them to embrace it, acknowledge it, embrace it, accept it, learn from it, grow from it, practice it, be good, proficient in it, and then help more people. That's the focus, because in the Bible it says, you will know me by my fruits. So the Holy Spirit says, you'll know what is good and what is bad by my fruits. If it produces fruit, it's a good thing. If it doesn't produce fruit, then it's not from God. So a lot of these people have great gifts and they produce fruit. So it is from God. So I try to embrace that. So that's what that book will be focused on, is the fact that, trying to teach people that it's okay. It's okay. Provided that, of course, you're doing it for the right intention. You're there to help the person, not benefit necessarily from them. I understand that there are people there who read tarot cards, and they do readings for money. Well, it's a single mom with maybe a couple kids, and she reads because she's trying to support her family. That's fine. Again, God knows what's in your heart, and you will be judged by what's in your heart. I am not the judge. So again, it all depends on why you're doing what you're doing and then what purpose. the other book that I want to write is basically, I really am a strong believer on the calling of the priesthood, or even of an exorcist, to be specific, it's a calling, and it's not like people just, well, I'm just going to join the priesthood, or I'm going to be giving altars today because I feel like it. It's a calling, and from my experience with other clergy that I met, and just looking at my own life, some of the difficulties that I went through, and some of this, like a lot of the doors got slammed in my face until the door that God wanted it open. In other words, He wanted me to be a priest and a bishop, but He wanted me to be a bishop that direction. Because maybe if I was a priest in the mainstream churches, I wouldn't be doing exorcism. I'd be doing I have a church and saying mass and doing my thing. He wanted me to do that. So, but that was a journey, and that journey starts from my parents leaving Greece, and they both have their own story. And it's funny how they had a choice to come to 3 different countries, and certain things had occurred in history. And I'll get into the book. One thing led to another. Like my mom had a choice to go to Australia, Brazil, or Canada. Her mother told her to come to Canada, and whatnot. My dad, he was a sailor in the Greek ship. He was very young. I went to Australia. He was going to jump off there, and there was a plague or something. There was an outbreak. So they couldn't dock the boat, so he couldn't get off of Australia. But my mother, if she had decided to go to Australia, that's where she would have met my dad. But she said, no, my mother told her to go to Canada, not Australia. Here's my dad, who wanted to get off in Australia, but couldn't because there was, right? And then the next journey is, he went to America, and he apparently, that didn't happen. He ended up going to Montreal, the next stop, and he decided this is where I'm going to get off, become an immigrant. And so, again, then of course, it was city of Montreal, Quebec, and this is where they met, blah, blah, blah. So if you look at like all the opportunities they could have met in Brazil, they could have met in Australia, they could have met in Greece, they could have met in Canada. And some of the things that stopped them from not actually immigrating to those places for whatever happened, history or like the circumstance, they ended up in Canada. And of course, that's where I was born. I grew up. It was taking me to a town that, allowed me to participate. Of course, I mean, in the book would be a lot of small particulars, but it goes to show that the divine hand was involved even before conception. I wasn't even born yet. My parents hadn't even met yet, but yet in God's divine hand was like, okay, these two have to meet, and they have to meet there. So he blocked my dad here, he blocked my mother here, he blocked this, he blocked that. And then when I was born, he blocked a lot of my doors to get me down the right path, meet the right people. And of course, how did I end up with NESPAR, working with NESPAR in the States? Well, because someone in Finland decided they want to do a documentary. He found my name online, he reached out to me, and the next thing you know, I'm a member of the Warrens, organization, and then, that opened up. Like you see, it continues to be God's journey, not mine. It was God's plan, and He had His fingers in it the entire time. He was in the kitchen cooking the entire time. So this is what the book is to show that a calling isn't just like, one day I woke up and, Jesus just said, I want you to be a priest. No, I think the calling goes back much further. He knew about me before I was even born, probably before my parents were born.
Mm-hmm.
And certain circumstances that sort of allowed, whatever. And my mother lost a child, the first child, and so I was actually, I would have been the second born, but then I ended up being the firstborn. And, initially my name when I was born was Anthony. My name was Anthony Andreas. And then, and it was actually announced in the Montreal Gazette as Anthony Andreas, baby boy born, blah, 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 and then a week later they decided to change the name to Plato. So I would have been Archbishop Anthony Andreas,
Mm-hmm.
Archbishop Plato. So why that was, I don't know why. So why these changes, why these things occurred, there was no reason for it. But when I started going back and looking at some of these things and talking to my parents as to why the change was made and this and that, and there was some historical things where Plato actually is a Greek saint. And also, it's a Greek philosopher. It had that name seems to hold a lot more authority, in especially in the academia, world. And so who knows why? But it's just the way things all work out. That's what the whole book is, to show that the calling starts far back. It could have been even as far back as when Christ was on the cross, and he said he knew everybody. His sins were forgiven, people from the past, forgiven the sins of the present, and even forgiven the sins from the future for things that haven't even been done yet.
Mm-hmm.
And he knew us. He knew each and every one of us, and we were all born for a certain purpose. We were born for this time, which could be the end times. We were born for a certain reason, for a certain time frame. That there's a divine plan. Although we have free will, but I think there's a lot of hand play its part. Maybe I wouldn't have been a paranormal investigator if my parents married in Australia and I was even a bishop down there. Maybe not,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
even in Brazil or whatever. But for some reason, Canada, and then of course from Canada, met certain people. Certain people got me this, and then I'm getting calls, and then not that I'm not involved in things in the world, because trust me, I'm involved. I get calls from all over the world, every continent. But it just seems that this is what he bought.
Okay.
Of course, if marrying a certain woman who supports what I do, because there's people I know that I don't want to get involved in that. There's a woman who supports me, and I get that full support for the paranormal. And of course, the people that I've met here in Canada who are part of my team, Sister Kia, again, is from Canada. Would I have met her in Brazil? Would I have met her? No, obviously not. So, it was all part of the divine plan. It's the little things, when you put it all together, it basically says God had a hand in this. That's the calling.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, both of those sound
that's my perspective.
both of those sound really
Yeah,
fascinating. I can't wait to read them. So you'll have to keep me posted. All right.
I will.
All right. Well, where can my audience find and connect with you?
They can just go find me on Facebook. Just Plato Angelakis. I've got about 4 pages. There's Archbishop Plato. There's I've got several places. You can also Google. If you go to Google and put Plato Angelakis, you get about 8-9 pages of stuff, pictures, other podcasts that have been done, and probably Facebook contacts and whatnot. So again, I have a cell phone. I keep it with me 24/7, and people can reach out to me through Messenger, through Facebook, ask questions. If they need help, I can try to see if I can find someone in your local area that can come and help you out. And and if there's anybody has any questions that they want me to talk about, maybe on another show with you or anybody else, soon let me know.
All right. Well,
We can focus on maybe one topic as opposed to kind of because there's so much to talk about,
yes.
and we could be here all day. Unfortunately.
Yeah, no, it's a
Yeah.
really expansive topic. But all right, well, that's wonderful. I will link to any of that in the show notes so that people can find it easily. I have only one final question for you today. What is a final thought or message or some words of wisdom you would like to leave with my listeners?
I just want people to show gratitude. I want people to be kind, take care of yourself, and take care of others. I just don't think there's enough of that, especially now with the COVID and everything. I think we've really strayed. We were just worried about our money, worried about our jobs, worried about things. And I think some of the COVID has a world pandemic has brought some of us together, but maybe separated others. And so I think it's time to bring some positiveness in the world, and I think we can really put a real big dent into this evil by being kind and having some gratitude for the things you have, and the things that you've already been given. It's very contagious, And I'll just leave with a quick phrase, something that Mother Teresa from Calcutta, who's a saint now, someone had asked her, I don't know if I can do what you do. I don't know if I could, I don't know if I can help the world. And her response was, you don't have to help the world, just help one person. So take that with you. And if you don't want, 6-7 billion people on the planet, if each one of us decided to help even one person, be kind and help one person, then that's 12 billion helps. So we've just doubled it. So that's all I can leave. Be kind and take care of each other. You don't know what the other person is going through. You don't walk in their shoes. We've all had our low periods, especially during this pandemic. We've had our high periods. Just pass it forward.
Yeah.
Be thankful and pass it forward.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much for everything. I learned quite a bit today,
thank you.
so it was really nice to have you on the show.
Well, so have I. So have I. I'm always learning, so is everybody else. And I appreciate you and having me on, and I hope we can have more chats in the future.
That is a wrap for today, and a wrap for this 2-part episode, and an almost wrap on the entire season. Are you so excited for the season finale and conclusion? So am I. What am I going to say? You will just have to keep your eyeballs peeled for that notification come Friday to find out. Not my usual main episode posting day, but had to get it all in there this week. I got packing shenanigans to get into, remember? I want to thank Plato once again for coming on the show. Never in a million years did I think I would be interviewing an actual exorcist. The conversation series in general kind of took on a mind of its own this year, and I am loving it, you guys. I am so thrilled and grateful. I cannot wait to see what next season brings. If you are new here or just haven't yet, follow the show on all of the socials at Paranorm Girl Pod. Find the new merch and stay up to date with all of the episodes at paranormgirlpod.com. And rating and reviewing on any of the listening platforms is literally one of the best ways you can support the show and help me grow it into something really special. So thank you so much to those of you who have already done so. That's it for now. Meet you back here Friday. Stay safe, keep the nightlight on, and sleep with one eye open.